Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Jamie, aka Rick here, bringing you the second part of my look at Mists of Pandaria. In the first one we had a look at basically overall what they're hoping to achieve, a bit of the lore behind it, a little bit, some creatures that are going to be added, a couple of new zones that have been released, a look at the Pandaren obviously as a race, how they work out, what classes they can play, their racials, their specs. The monk, looked at a bit of that, how that's going to work, what kind of gear they use and abilities they're going to have. Yeah, so going to carry on from where I left off, and it goes on about, this is a brief look at the talents and some other bits that are going to be added, and then after that I'm going to do dungeons and raids I think, and then we're going to look at each class's talents. So it's going to take a little while, and it's going to be quite a few videos, so stay tuned for all those. Anyway, let's get into it. First of all, it kind of says what they did and didn't like about the Cataclysm talents. First of all, they liked the level 10 specs. They really liked that. Actually, no, I did this in the last video. Right, I think I did anyway. Anyway, I'll go over it anyway. Yeah, they like the level 10 specs and how you got to roll early on in the game, so they're going to keep that. They liked that they removed quite a lot of junk from the talent trees. They liked that you had a lot of choices and obviously a lot of optional utility talents that you could pick to suit your class or your way of playing, kind of. What they didn't like is obviously sometimes you had to skip important talents to get something else, that a utility maybe that you needed. There wasn't enough junk removed. They did remove quite a lot, but they felt they could have done more. There wasn't enough choices. Kind of, it was too cookie cutter, like it always has been. There's always been one spec that you should use to be as good as someone else. Not enough customization, no true hybridization. See, this one is the only one I can't really understand, again, because they locked you in a talent tree. If they wanted more hybridization, they wouldn't have locked the talent trees as soon as you picked your first talent in it. That's quite weird, but yeah. Anyway, talent system 2.0, which is the revamp they're going to do in Mists of Pandaria, which looks really good. At first glance I wasn't too sure, but now I've actually read a bit more about it and understand how it's going to work. It seems awesome. So talent system is gone pretty much. Well, they haven't, it's not completely gone, they've just completely changed how it's going to work. You now have class abilities, spec abilities, and then your talents. So class abilities, obviously, for example, as a paladin it would be your, say, Blessing of Kings would be a class ability, something like that. I'm not sure what. And then obviously your spec abilities would be, say, for a prot paladin, Avenger's Shield, Hammer of the Righteous, stuff like that. And then your talents. The talents will either be changing an ability you already have, or it will be a new ability, obviously. So I know in the warrior tree the first three you get to choose from at level 15 are all to do with your charge, so they have different ways of changing how it works. They're all really interesting, so we'll get onto that a bit later though. As I said, an example, at level 10 you choose your spec, same as usual. You get a spec ability, so for a prot paladin it's Avenger's Shield, and then at level 20 you get your second class ability, which will be Hammer of the Righteous in this case, and then level 13, 40 and 50 and so on, all the way up to 90 I guess, or maybe 80, I don't know if they're going to give you one at 90, but yeah. And then obviously every 15, whatever it is, 15, can't think of the word, 15 levels, that's the word, you get a talent point, and there's 3 options for each one. So obviously at level 15 you can choose one of the 3, so you take the middle one. At level 30 you can't go back to the original 3 that you got, you get a new 3 and you can pick one out of those. So obviously there's a load more options, there's so many combinations that you can have. You'll need some for some fight, some for the other. You won't need to, say, have this talent you won't always need it. Sometimes you'll need it, sometimes you won't. So there'll be a way of swapping them in and out, like glyphs. You know, you've got that dust of disappearance, I think it's called, where you can just take out a glyph and replace it with another one straight away. So it's going to be a bit like that. Not exactly like that, I doubt, but there'll be something similar to that. So that'll be quite interesting. So you can swap out talents just in, you know, in between boss fights if you need a different talent in a raid maybe, then they'll change it up. So that's pretty cool. It's a good idea. It goes on to PvE scenarios. This is really awesome. It's basically mini dungeons. PvE scenarios are a way to give new interesting content that doesn't make sense in a dungeon environment. Scenarios are more about reusing parts of the world in interesting new ways and introducing new types of PvE gameplay that we have never seen before, like PvE battlegrounds. There's a bit more about that in a little while. There are short instances for a few players. The amount of players can vary depending on the scenario. Some of them can be for as little as 3 players. That's pretty cool. So, you know, say like for me, I don't always have, you know, 4 other people online that I can jump in a run with, you know, that always want to do it. Some of my friends, you know, love leveling and all that sort of stuff, and don't like max level content as much, or, you know, they're on different realms or something like that. So this is a pretty awesome way of like sorting that out. So, you know, you can have smaller groups. So if you've just got, you only need 2 other people, I'm pretty sure anyone that plays WoW should have 2 other people that they can jump on that with, and yeah, that'll be obviously a lot quicker because you're not waiting on any extra people, and you know, it's a bit more small, bit more personal. Maybe the 3-man ones. You don't need typical tank, healer, DPS setups. You'll be able to enter and play your role no matter what it is. So you don't need obviously a tank, a healer, and then 3 DPS. You don't need that anymore. You can have whatever. You can go in with 3 DPS. You can go in with 2 healers and a DPS, I guess. Probably wouldn't be as quick, but 2 DPS, 1 healer would probably be quite nice, or a paladin tank and 2 DPS would be quite nice. There's a lot of self-healing going on. It'll be a stage experience and you try to accomplish some greater goal. For example, a scenario might require you to kill 25 kobolds in the first stage, then find and return 4 children in the second stage, and then in the final stage you'll have to kill the boss. The example it's got here is Goldshire. So there's like a swarm of kobolds taking over Goldshire. You've got to take them down, and then you've got to go and rescue 4 children, bring them back to the inn, and then you go outside and you've got Goldtooth, it looks like there, and obviously you've got to take him down, and then that's the scenario. Also, we'd like to do PvE battlegrounds, where you have to slay 50 Alliance or Horde soldiers, destroy 6 towers and a barracks, and then defeat the enemy general. That sounds pretty cool as well. So it's like Ultrac Valley, but in a battleground, which sounds really good. You know, but in a PvE sense instead of a PvP sense. So that's quite nice. They could replace some group quests. So maybe you get a quest in the zone that requires you to do a PvE scenario. That would be quite nice. So it ties into the story somehow, and adds a little bit of challenge in there. That would be quite nice to do. It uses the same queue system as Dungeon Finder. Since there's no role requirements, queues should be instant, as long as obviously there's people at that level wanting to do that specific scenario. I'm guessing they'll be all the way up through the levels, like the dungeons are at the moment, so that'd be quite nice to do. Challenge mode dungeons. Challenges consist of completing a dungeon in a certain amount of minutes to earn bronze, silver and gold medals. Gear levels are normalised. All your gear will be brought to the same level to make the competition even, so you can't basically get better gear by doing a really fast run. So someone who's, you know, maybe taking their time, being careful, will still get the same gear as someone who's, you know, already got a quite decent gear and can go for it a lot quicker. So that seems fair. Obviously then you can't overpower it, you can't get better gear to overpower it. It will reward sweet looking gear with no stats and some valor points. So it's another way. Say you do a fast run, you get extra valor points on top of the ones you already get, which is nice, and you get gear with no stats, so you can obviously transmogrify it, so you can brag. It's basically bragging rights. You can wear the gear that you get in challenge modes while keeping the stats of yours, which is quite nice. Challenge mode will reward you with very unique looking gear to show off how awesome you are. That's what it says. A new challenge dungeon UI will be added. You'll be able to check your medals, your ranking, show what rewards you can unlock, etc. So basically, I think it's server wide, and then obviously you probably can compare with your friends, your guild maybe as well on times. You can see all the loot drops you'll get if you do it in a certain time. So that's quite nice. Next thing, pet battle system. This is basically Pokemon. I think I spoke about. Oh no, I recorded this and then realised it wasn't recording. This is why it all seems so familiar. You'll be able to collect, level and battle with companion pets. Like I said, it's Pokemon. This will be accessible to all players and it works with almost every pet. Pet customization, you will be able to name your pet, give them visual abilities, etc. There will be wild pets. You can find them in the world and engage them in battle. You will then be able to get that pet and add it to your pet journal. Pets have random stats. Some of them will be good at tanking, some will have CC abilities, etc. So that's quite nice, a little variation. Like Pokemon again, some Pokemon have abilities that can put to sleep, poison, all that sort of stuff, and then some just do like insane damage, so it's quite nice. Some pets will only be found a specific season while it's raining or during the day or night. Some of them will only spawn in the spring when it's raining, in Elwyn Forest at night. So it's got to be spring, it's got to be raining, and it's got to be night time for maybe something to spawn. So that would be quite rare, I'd imagine. You'd have to be at a quite specific time to actually get that one. Most pets will become tradable even after it's leveled. So again, you can trade pets like Pokemon. Pets will be account wide again, so if you spend ages and ages leveling one up to max level on one character, then you can go on to another character and still use that pet, so that's quite nice. Your pet journal will display info on all your pets, including stats and skills, and will also show drop locations and lore info for the pets you don't have yet. It's basically a Pokedex just for pets, a Petadex maybe. Winning battles earns you experience and levels your pet. See, this could, to me, be really good, because the experience that it mentions, if that goes to your pet, which obviously it does, and to you, that would be awesome. So you can actually level your character through pet battles. That would be quite nice to be able to do. It'd add something new to the leveling experience. Hopefully that, fingers crossed, that is actually real. That'd be quite nice to do. You will learn new abilities. Every pet can have 3 abilities in a battle at one time. So I think each pet can learn like 6 odd abilities or something, and you can only use 3 of them in battle, so that's not too bad. Every time you level, you will also increase the stats of your pet. It's quite nice. So it scales up like your characters do. You will level multiple pets to build your team. You can have 3 battle slots, one for each pet in your team. So basically the battles are 3v3s if you fight another person. PvE and PvP battles, it will be turn based, simple combat system, fight with a team of 3 pets, and there will be a queuing system similar to the Dungeon Finder, so you should be able to find fights pretty fast. Obviously you go, I'm guessing, you go into an instance area with just you and your opponent and your pets, I guess. I don't know, it might not be true, but I'd imagine that's right. Customization. You'll be able to find, you'll be finally able to name your pets and see that name when they battle. Items for your pets, and you will have item slots. You'll be able to socket those items. So basically you can have gear for your pets, that'd be quite nice, and you can improve that gear with gems, I guess. Individual builds of abilities and different teams. So as I said before, you get a selection of abilities and you can choose which ones to use in battle. Masters and masters abilities. There will be different NPC pet masters in the world who will let you learn abilities when you beat them. For example, beating the master of mechanical pets will get you a new ability for your pet. So it's technical machines basically from Pokemon again. I know I keep relating it to Pokemon, but it is really the easiest way of describing it because everyone knows what Pokemon is, and you kind of get the feel of how it's going to work if you look at it that way. Well, that's what I found anyway. Dungeons, there'll be 9 new dungeons in the new expansion. 6 dungeons will be on Pandaria, and then Sholomance and Scarlet Monastery, Wings 1 and 2, will be back in Heroic. The raids, there'll be 3 new epic raids. They will feature 2 new enemy races, the Mogu and Mantid. There'll be Raid Finder, Normal and Heroic difficulties will all be available from day 1. World raid bosses will return, that's quite nice. More info will be available at the Raids and Dungeons panel, which I'm going to get to a bit later on. Next we've got questing. Increased focus on max level content. It will reward you with Valor points. So that's, basically daily quests will give you Valor points. It's quite a nice way of doing things. So if you're gearing up, you can still do dailies while you're waiting for your dungeon queues, and you'll still earn rewards towards what your final goal is, basically. Incentives for dungeons, raiders, or dungeoneers I guess it should be, and raiders to run quests and do outdoor daily kind of stuff. For example, finishing a quest might give you a buff for the day, and maybe that buff will let you roll on loot that only appears to people with that buff. That's quite a nice bonus, because obviously, as you know, some people just jump on WoW for literally just their raid, or to run a certain amount of heroics in a day. They won't do much else, they'll just log off and go and do something else. So Blizzard are trying to get those people out in the world questing and doing other stuff, maybe spending more time in the game and enjoying it more. So that'd be quite cool. More quest choices, a lot less linear. So you have, at the moment in Cataclysm, it's kind of like you start here, you do all the quests there, they send you to another place, you do them there, they send you to another place, then you finish the zone, then you go back to your city, and you go to another zone. It's exactly the same, it's just a linear path. Whereas in this one there's going to be choices of where you can quest. Obviously the quest hubs you can get to straight away. You don't have to do all the ones down here to get access to the ones up here. You can just go off and start wherever you want and kind of finish wherever you want, I guess, as well. There'll be no flying until max level. This will make it much easier to keep people on the ground and create interesting quests when people won't just fly away and drop on the boss. So basically they are going to put more effort into the questing content, so they want you to see it, basically. So they're not going to label you to fly, so you won't just fly up and miss everything that's on the ground between the quest and the quest mobs. So that's quite nice. Faction improvements. There will be a group of factions, and they will let you work for all factions from that group to earn your rewards. This way you don't have to grind a single faction anymore. Again, it's a great change. Personally, it takes ages, I find, to grind up to your factions to Exalted to get the rewards that you want from it. It's not a bad idea. Obviously the factions are good, and but this is obviously just a step in the right direction, I feel, because as you quest through, you level up all the factions, and they collectively have loot, I guess, or you get rep for all of them and then they have the separate vendors still. I'm not sure how that will work, but it sounds pretty cool. So on to next, we go PvP next. There'll be 3 new battlegrounds and 1 new arena. You got Stranglethorn Vale Diamond Mine. It'll be a goblin mine below Northern Stranglethorn Vale, payload style gameplay. Escort minecarts to the depot, or depot, depending on how you say that. Multiple tracks, you'll get a lot of options, and you'll be able to decide which way you want the cut to go. First to X resources wins. So basically, well, I don't know, how does this actually work? I don't know if, say, one team's defending, one's attacking. So one team's trying to stop you getting to the depot, one's trying to get the cart there, or you've both got carts and you're both trying to get them there. I don't know, maybe you're fighting over the carts, something like that, I don't know. If there's going to be, I don't know how exactly that's going to be set up and how it's going to work, but it sounds really interesting. It's a bit of a different look at Battlegrounds. The next one, Valley of Power, located in the Vale of Eternal Blossoms, murder ball style gameplay. Holding the object earns points. Multiple point zones, depending on where you're hiding, will earn you more or less points. So obviously, well, this is what I took. If you hide in their base, I would imagine you get more points than if you hide in yours. Just an example. Objects deal damage to the holder, and the damage will increase over time. So that's quite good. You could obviously change holders regularly to stop that damage increasing, and you've always got to have a healer there as well, which would be quite nice. And then the arena will be similar to No Grand Arena, but basically autumn themed. So it's got 4 statues in the middle. It's like sandy area, and it's surrounded by like Egyptian style architecture pretty much. It looks really nice, and it will play exactly like the Grand Arena, so that'd be quite nice. Achievements. Some achievements will be going Battle.net account bound, so basically harder ones are the ones that are going to be like, account bound, so raid achievements and profession achievements by the looks of it are the 2 examples they give. So obviously if you get all the bosses down in Firelands, you'll have that achievement for every one of your characters, and if you get all the professions to max level, that'll be one that goes across all your characters as well, so that's quite nice. So you can obviously level a different profession on each character, and you don't have to keep swapping and changing and get everything to max level before you decide what you want to have. So that's quite cool as well. Next part will be major class changes. So this is basically the last section of this part, and then after this we'll go on to raids and dungeons. So first of all, resilience. Devs like the way resilience works in PvP and how it gives a nice goal for players looking to progress, upgrade their gear in PvP. Resilience is a pretty huge barrier for people who want to start PvPing. So in this case we're making resilience a base stat and will increase every time you level. So basically like your strength, like your stamina, everything increases as you level no matter what class you are. Obviously some are higher percentages than others, so obviously for a mage intellect's going to increase higher than strength will, but at the end of the day a mage will still have some strength. So I'm guessing resilience will go up evenly for everyone, otherwise that would be a bit OP for a class that gets it quicker. But yeah, so that's really nice because I've recently started to like PvP and jumped in when I hit max level with my mage, and found I was really squishy. I got like blown up by most classes, but once you get that gear up, once you start getting to say 1.5 to 2k resi, it starts getting a bit easier and you don't die as quick. So that would be really nice to have that extra boost, and for my lower level PvP characters as well, like on my 73 hunter is like fully in the level 70 PvP gear, and he's got ridiculous resilience without this, so that would be really nice to have that. So for a bit more survivability on that would be nice. Hunter changes, or no, ranged weapon changes first. It says Hunter's minimum range is gone. Hunter's melee weapon is gone as well. Range slot for all characters are gone, so that means relics are gone, throwing weapons are gone, and wands are gone. Wands will become main-handed weapons, and rogues and warriors can now throw their main hand melee weapons. So that's quite nice. There might be some talents that allow your throw to use both weapons. That would be quite interesting instead of just one. I'm not sure how that's going to work, but yeah, I think this is long overdue because hunters for the most part never used their melee weapons. They were just kind of there for stats. The same with the throwing weapons, rogues and warriors, they never used them really, they were just there for stats. And exactly the same with wands, no one ever uses wands. But you can still have wands if you want, so you can have that extra, bit of little bit of DPS if you just want a last hit or something. It's quite nice to have, but for the most part I'd imagine staffs will still be quite good for casters that could have wands before. Warlock changes. There will be unique resources for each spec. Affliction will keep soul shards. They're not very interesting at the moment, but devs have cool ideas for them in the future. Demonology will get demonic fury. You build up demonic fury and you'll metamorphosize when you max your demonic fury, and more skills will be added to demon form. So basically I'm pretty sure you get a metamorphosis skill already, but it's on a cooldown, so instead of having a cooldown you'll just build up demonic fury and then that will trigger the metamorphosis instead. So it's quite a nice little mechanic to have. Destruction will get infernal embers. The destruction warlock who keeps casting fire spells will get hotter and hotter and eventually deal an insane amount of damage. You can build up pretty pretty quickly and unleash your big spells. So basically, keep casting those fire spells, you start to burn up, and eventually you can just unleash a huge fireball, probably of some sort. That sounds really nice. I like that idea. Hopefully destruction will be viable again in 5.0. It's a long way to go, but hopefully 4.3 is going to improve them a little bit as well. It looks like it is, so they're getting some buffs to some important spells. Shaman changes. Buff totems are gone. It wasn't very interesting being the buff bitch of the group. All totems are now utility. So for example, Earth Grab totem, AoE roots. Repulsion totem, repels enemies. Bulwark totem, absorbs damage. They're all quite nice, although I did really like the buff totems. I was a fan of those. Yeah, obviously it's a bit gimmicky, you could just have the buffs anyway, but I thought it was quite nice to have those. It gives you an advantage over your enemy, or in soloing as well. It's really nice to have those buffs that make you a bit stronger. Obviously they could just scale up everything so that you take into account that you don't have those buffs anymore. I'd imagine I have to do something like that, or shamans won't be as powerful as they were before because they won't have these buffs. I'm not sure how they're going to work around that, but hopefully they do. Hopefully they fix that. So I don't want shamans being underpowered again, because they're just getting back to being really good and being viable, kind of. Although Resto's not really, but yeah. They always felt druid changes. They always felt like they had 4 specs, and now they do. Feral is your cat, melee DPS. Guardian will be bear for tanking. There'll be some overlap between the two, so obviously some things will still be similar, like before. You know, they've always been quite similar, but now they've got separate specs, so it's a way to implement the fact that you get different what are they called, abilities depending on what talents you choose. Because obviously if you took Feral before and you wanted to be a tank and you're getting abilities for cat, it's not really much use. So now they've split it up and made that even better, so that's quite nice. All druids can still go into cat and bear form, but can't go into moonkin and tree still. Obviously it's quite simple. And then changes for all classes. Spellbooks are cleaned up, most of the junk will be got rid of. The goal is to clean up action bars a little without removing too much of the fun stuff. Rotations will be improved. Spells will be automatically learnt. You won't have to go to your trainer anymore. You'll get a new spell at level 87 and a new talent point at level 90. Talent trees should be fun, and you should have more choice than just a cookie cutter build. So that pretty much wraps up this section. Part 2 of the basic, the basic announcements of the Mists of Pandaria. It looks, from just this part without the rest of it that I've looked at, looks amazing. The next video is either going to be talents, or it'll be the start of the talents, or we'll do the raids and dungeons next. So I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to go on to, but I can't wait for this expansion already. I'm really excited. I don't know if I mentioned before that I've actually done the 12-month sign up thing that you can do. It's basically you sign up and say that you'll definitely pay every month for a year your World of Warcraft subscription, which I was going to do anyway. There's no doubt about that. I'm not going to stop playing it anytime soon. I still love the game, so I thought I might as well do it. And for doing that, you get Diablo 3 for free, standard edition. Is that? You get Diablo 3 for free. You get a World of Warcraft mount. It's a Tyrael styled horse, which is pretty awesome. So I'm not sure if it'll fly. I probably will, to be honest. It doesn't look retarded like the sparkly horse. What else do you get? Oh yeah, and you get access to the beta of Mists of Pandaria when it releases. So you can guarantee that I'm going to be making a lot of videos on that. As soon as it launches, I'm going to be there on day 1, and I'm going to bring you videos of everything I can find in the Mists of Pandaria. I'll hopefully get to do a lot of the questing content. I'll do as many of the dungeons as I can. I'll show you all the PvE scenarios, I'm sure. The talent builds, show you how they work, you know, what changes stuff. I'll definitely show you the Pandering. I'll do a walkthrough of those playthroughs, like the 1 to 10, and the Monk, obviously, definitely play that. Yeah, so obviously I'm going to be really looking forward to that. Already am. As soon as it was announced, I started reading it about this stuff, and it just sounds awesome. And now super hyped that I'm going to be in the beta as well, because I've committed 12 months of WoW gameplay autofocus, for fuck's sake. This camera is horrendous. But yeah, that was part 2 of my look at Mists of Pandaria. There will be a lot more to come, so stay tuned, and thanks for watching. Goodbye for now.